Good evening, everyone. This is Coach Reverend Melvie coming to you live from Rebirth Dimension. Um, and I wanted to share something with you really quick. And I'm gonna call it a midnight revelation, but that's not what the topic is gonna be. The topic is basically understanding that I'm trying to find a good way to say it, but I don't think there's a good way or a way for you to understand it. But maybe once I start talking, you'll be able to understand and comprehend. Um, and I may bring it around to you in another way. So we'll see how this plays out. But basically, what I want to say is sometimes, in order for a positive change to come, and if we look at the situation we're dealing with now, with the Black Lives Matter protests that are going around, not just in the country of the United States now, this is going on all across the world. Um, you know, if you sit and think about all the times something bad has happened, whether it's in your life individually, um, if it's happened in a community, a city, or state, even in this worldwide, something positive comes out of it. Something comes out of the pain. If you were to go back I don't want to even bring this cliche up, but this is what I'm familiar with because this is what I've learned growing up, whether it's true or not, but I'm going to use it as an example. Um, if you use slavery, and that's a very painful topic for a lot of people. It's a very, you know, um, eh, most people think of African Americans that had dealt with slavery, but there are a lot of other cultures that dealt with slavery for real. So, when you think about that, and you think about what your particular race has maybe gone through in the past with slavery, and then you think about where your particular culture has come from that slavery, can you find something good out of it? Can you literally sit back and think, you know what, I remember the stories of ancestors or whatever, going through something, you know, and look at where we are now. You know, it was a very painful time back then. It was very horrifying. It was whatever it was. It was dark. But can you actually look forward and say there's something that came out of it that was positive through it all? So that's what I'm really trying to get everyone to realize. That sometimes, in order for the light to come through, you have to have the dark. In order for the good, you have to have the bad. Because sometimes the bad is actually what brings out the good. Because a lot of times we hide our light, or we don't realize what light we do have, or what power we have until we're pushed. You don't know how strong you are until you have to be strong. Um, Sometimes you're pushed into that corner and you have to fight. I can give another example. This is a TV show that I had watched a long time ago, years ago. I can't remember how long, but it was a segment on the world and how, like, what affects one side of the earth, what happens on one side of the earth affects the other side. Like, say, for instance, there's a tsunami happening on one side of the earth, but if you go through the earth's core, it has another outcome on the other end. You know, take for instance, we're gonna say another situation, Hawaii. You know, they deal with the volcanoes. So what happens after they have a volcano? You have all this destruction. The lava has eaten up, I mean, all the beautiful land and everything. And next thing you know, eons later, who knows how many years later, I don't even know how long it takes. But you take this volcano, lava, rock situation, and next thing you know, eons later, years later, they have this new beautiful island for people to inhabit. Now, the hard part about this is, you know, living on an island where you know this volcano could erupt at any given moment and starting all over again. That's the hard part. But there's beauty to come through those ashes. Um, so again, getting back to what I was saying, sometimes in order for positive change to come, destruction, loss, suffering, and pain has to precede because the outcry is there, but sometimes the action is not taken. So, um, in order for us to move forward in life, believe it or not, Source, God, the universe will kind of do like a, let's say, like a bird. You know, a mother bird will take the baby bird who's, you know, doesn't think they're ready to, you know, fly yet, and the mother bird drop them off the nest, and all of a sudden they're falling. But the mother bird eventually catches them when they know they're not ready. You know, so this is something that we go through in life. Sometimes the universe will push us out there in the midst of all the chaos. I'm not ready for this. Nope, don't do it, please. And it will allow certain things to happen. And it sounds crazy, it sounds ironic, but in order for the blessings to come that we want, in order for the things to happen that we want, sometimes, again, those bad things have to happen. We can take, for instance, what's going on right now with all the Black Lives Matter, all these terrible situations that are happening, and the way that we've been taking care of them isn't working. Well, hasn't been working. You know, literally, we you have a, oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry, it's late at night and I'm trying to get these podcasts out of my brain so I can get them uploaded to you, because I have been slacking, but um, I've been on my own little personal journey with healing as well. So as I heal, it helps me to be able to come to you with different aspects or perspectives on how you could deal with situations in your own life. So this is something that we can think about, you know, when it comes to the Black Lives Matter movement. This normally is just a, you know, a black, um, we're dealing with African Americans that are doing the protests up and down the road and, you know, angry. But this is the one that everyone has been involved in. Everyone has literally, I've never seen a whole world affected. I mean, even if you were to go a little bit further before that, we're thinking about the COVID-19 situation and how you may hear, like, take for instance the different flus we've had and the different um, segments of sicknesses and diseases that we've had. It never have stopped us, because it will be here, you know, and then it'll be there, a couple different spots, but it never hit like a whole world, and the whole world literally shut down, you know. So out of that, even though it got a little crazy, you know, and everything's got to be scarce, and you know, even though people have lost their jobs, and we're still coming up out of this. So I'm still staying positive for everyone in this situation. But it's some good came out of it. A lot of people got a chance to sit and um, do some inner work, you know, some self evaluation what's really important right now, what's not important, and they've got a chance to spend time with family at home because you're always on the go. But we're looking at those who don't have jobs now because of this situation. So um my prayer is that those situations are rectified for these families, because the last thing we need is to have another increase in homelessness for families and things. I'm praying that things get better. But now, on the onset of that, trying to get this back on track, now we're dealing with um, racial injustice, which was something that we've dealt with for as long as I can remember. Um, and, you know, destruction has come because of it. Businesses and loss of lives from other people. And, it's also brought a world together. You know, I think, and I'm gonna say that this is just my perspective, but I believe that from what happened in the COVID and how we basically got to a point, excuse me, where everyone was just exhausted from being in the house, and the sickness and the loss of life, with all the deaths. And even though a lot of the deaths really didn't have anything with COVID 19 and they were labeled COVID 19, but it's just the fact that so many people were losing their lives across the world. And it made all of us, a little bit more sympathetic, a little bit more understanding one towards another. It wasn't about race at that moment. It really wasn't. It was just about, oh my God, look at all those people that are passing away over in China. Oh my God, look at other people that are, in Italy and whatever country it was being affected, that was being affected. It all just became about, you know, care for your fellow woman or man, child, whoever. It wasn't about who they are, where they came from, the color of their skin or anything. It was about life and death for everyone. And so I believe that the onset of that is what brought about so many people. And I said, this is just my personal, thing. We all are still trying to come out of the COVID-19, which some people are questioning now, because once the race riots started up, everyone forgot about COVID-19. And unfortunately, this is going to be a little bit topsy-turvy for a minute, because everything is kind of high profile right now, high tension, high profile. It's really getting to everyone. We're fighting this thing with Black Lives Matter, and brutality for African American males, and young men. And it's just a lot to deal with, and everyone is tired because we still have not recuperated from COVID-19. you know and it's just too much. And I see the way I've been meditating, and I'm seeing this, and I knew this was going to happen this last time. And prayers go out to the family of George Floyd, and the young lady who was shot in her home, at home, and the young man who was shot just jogging down the street. And so many names, so many faces, so many people, but again, the world has not recovered from what we just dealt with this COVID situation, and now we're into this. So what's happening is, you have people who are African American who are tired, they're angry, and they're mad, and they feel alone. And what happens is, when you're black and you're dealing with this situation, you mad at people that look white. You mad at people that look like a police officer. But what I'm saying is, I'm not saying all police officers, and I'm not saying all Caucasian people are like that. This is just a mentality that's been taken on, because when you're tired and your emotions are just all wrought and just out of whack, you start looking at people kind of cockeyed, even though they are trying to figure out, okay, I didn't do it. And then they're looking at you like, but you're still white. Doesn't matter. You got this back and forth rhetoric going back, and it's crazy. So now you have people who are finally starting to step up, saying, you know what? I didn't do that, but I need to make myself responsible to stand with this person who has been dealing with this and try to understand what they're going through. So you have everyone from different countries, different backgrounds, different races standing up, because if one is looking bad at the other one's trying to figure out why you looking bad at me. And now I'm upset because now I'm getting blamed for all the bad people that are in my race. And then, this everybody's looking at everybody cockeyed crazy. But after a while, it's like, okay, you know what? I'm tired of all of it. So I believe all of us are tired. And I believe out of all of this is a friend of mine, a dear colleague of mine, actually, in the metaphysical arena. We have been talking about this and trying to keep each other encouraged through it all and try to see past it and spiritually, because we know, again, as I've just said, out of the darkness light does come, good does come. So we just believe now that there's a separation of the wheat from the tares. It's literally happening. And this has been happening ever since the beginning of Trump's presidency. Actually, before, when we were just doing the pre-elections and he was going around the globe or going around the country, doing his speeches and whatever and whatnot for the conventions. But what's going on is people's true selves are finally starting to be shown, because ever since Trump has been in office, people have been speaking their minds simply because they think it's okay and they have a president to support them. But what's going on is their Trump card is being called out now, and whereas before they hid, now they just outright say it. They just outright do what they need to do, and they're being exposed. And people are tired. It's not just one race that's tired, it's everyone's tired. So this is going to be a long recovery, but there's a lot of work that we all need to do to change this. And I don't think it's going to be just done in 1 year. This is where the ball just got the rolling. That's just started rolling, so we can begin to take measures to do what we need to do to help the African American community to feel like we're a part of the country and not just something separate, but where we can all get along in unity and respect each other's individual differences and individualities, but learn about each other more or less than anything, and start accepting things that have been truthfully done by one race, specifically African Americans, for some of the things that they have contributed. We have contributed, or our ancestors, put it like that, because contributed to building a country. And instead of giving recognition where recognition should be, it's always been given to someone else. It's been stolen, or, in some way or fashion. So it's a lot of unearthing that needs to be done in order for this country to really live peaceably and realize that we truly are one. So I really wanted to share that, but I kind of got off got off track. So again, in order for situations like positive change to come, again, destruction, loss, suffering, and pain has to proceed, because the cry out is there, but action isn't taken. So the universe, or source, God, has to step in and do what we as humans will not do. And another way to say it is breaking before blessings. Those of you who are in the church and understand that If you've heard that before, you understand sometimes there before the blessing can come, some situations have to be broke. You know, some darkness, the light has to come in. Some situations have to be revealed. The truth has to be put out there, whether it's painful or not, in order to deal with it. Um, and this can occur several times over a long period of time until the desired outcome takes place. And depending on the situation, it can take generations. And we've been dealing with racism for generations. I don't know when it started, but I know at one point for African Americans it didn't exist. At one point, long time ago, years ago, eons ago, but um, it's here. In other countries that have dealt with slavery as well. Um, this can occur several times over a long period of time until the outcome, or depending on the situation, can take generations. You never get it wrong, and you'll never get it done. What I'm saying is, when I say you never get it wrong, basically, in order to, and you've heard this from a lot of inspirational speakers and, empowerment speakers, you never get it wrong. That means that if something doesn't quite work the way you want it to work, you figure it out at that moment. What could have been done better? What could have uh, been done differently? So basically what it is you're trying and you're trying again until you get to the next step. So it's not necessarily a wrong, because mostly when we say it's wrong, you're trying to make yourself feel better about it, and you don't feel good about it. But if you look at it as a learning situation, okay, this didn't work, let's take a look at it and find out why, and then we try to figure out another way until it finally does work. So basically what we're trying to do is just start the ball rolling on an idea, a process that could possibly be a positive change. Some things will get done in your lifetime, most of which was passed on to you from previous generations. If we were to go into the realm of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and John F. Kennedy and keep going, they started the ball rolling. And even though we didn't want those leaders to get killed or assassinated, because but they did plant seeds, and they plant seeds in our lives and in our hearts that we hold on to. And those are the seeds that we take after they've grown and they've germinated and they've created seeds of their own. We take the seeds that we have from those and we plant those seeds, and then something grows from that. It's just like parenthood. We are the seed. We have seeds inside of us. The seeds are planted and grow, the children, and then they have seeds of their own that they're planted and grown. It's a process. It's a circle of life. So that's what I mean by you're never going to get it done and you're never going to get it wrong, because wherever you leave off is where the next generation picks up at. So we are at a new generation right now with the world going on, and this generation is not having it. They're not playing. They're upset because they've seen what we as a generation and previous generations have had to deal with, of trying to be good or trying to do the right things, and they're upset, even though now you have generation to generation are saying, okay, that's not working. Then you have the other, well, that's not working either. So people are trying to come together and find ways to make it work between the two. You have Generation X and you have the millennials, Generation Y, and then you have the baby boomers. So you got 3 generations right now that have different ways, and I think that we all just need to come together and we can do this together. We just need some, it's because just being angry about it is not gonna fix it. Tearing up the neighborhoods, literally thinking about it, is not gonna fix it. Yeah, they do have insurance, and yes, they can get it done again, but we don't want all the whole neighborhoods to be, you have neighborhoods that are mixed. They're not all just African American. You have some who have African American. You have some who are Chaldean, and you have some who have Asian and Hispanic. It just depends. There's some neighborhoods are literally mixed like that. And if you can help each other out and build businesses together to help each other, okay, fine, let's do something like that. And I can understand if the whole neighborhood is African American, then of course, then the ones that need to be building up are the African Americans, and they need to be supported. But they also need to help those who aren't in the financial, they don't have the financial backing or capacity to be able to support the businesses. So the businesses, it kind of needs to be a helping hand with each other, because there are some African American stores that I have known growing up. They would be in the middle of a neighborhood that can't afford those type of things. They like things, the clothing and whatever and whatnot, but the price that the owner puts on the merchandise, they can't afford. So yes, they go to the other places that they can afford, and it's not that they don't want to support, but we got to think on both sides of this situation. Well, I can't afford this building, and I have to put these prices up here. Okay, then that means the people who owns the building need to help out too. It everyone has to help everyone. Of course, the building owner has to pay for the building. The person who's leasing the building has to pay for the lease, that space. So they're charging a certain price. But at the same time, the people in the neighborhood, they want to support, they can't afford it because it costs too much. These are the things we need to think about. This is why, so I'm just throwing this out here, and I probably talked enough. But again, like I said, some things you will touch on and pass on, and some things you will start yourself and pass on. And when I say touch on some things, that means something that was passed on to you, and you may not finish it, but you will pass it on. And there are some things you will start and not finish and pass on. There are some things you will finish in your time, but it was passed on to you. So it just depends on where you fall on the spectrum of any situation. Legacy does not always mean finance. People say, I want to leave a legacy for my children. And the first thing most people think, not everybody, is money. No, sometimes your excuse me, sometimes legacy can also mean knowledge. It can also mean a business. It could mean so many different things. It doesn't always mean money or finances. So people deal with trauma very differently. Some people so my throat, you can tell I've been talking a lot, plus I have a fan on. So it just depends on how people deal with it. I think that's all I want to share for this one, because my second part of this midnight revelation is totally different, and that is dealing with trauma. So I'm going to leave it with destruction before prosperity. I love you all, and I hope you all got something positive out of this. Something that you can try to figure out what can I do to contribute to this change in the world that we're going through right now. Who knows what the next situation is going to be coming up or coming down the pipeline. But the one question I want everyone to ask yourself is, how do I fit into this? What is my part in this? Because we all are on a journey, but we all have an assignment. And it's not by coincidence that you are here on this earth during this time. So what part do you play in it? Because we all do. And sometimes the part that we play in life, only our spirit knows how it's going to end. And our spirit doesn't communicate with our flesh. Well, get ready, because this is about to happen. Because I always say this, if your flesh knew what your spirit knew before you came down here, you wouldn't do half the things you knew you were going to go through. You wouldn't. But again, it's for the journey and the experience. Um, I want to expound on that one day to kind of plant a nugget in everyone's mind, but today's not the day to do that. So be encouraged during this time. Um, don't let it get to you too much, because at the end of the day, again, you are here for a purpose. So if you don't know what your purpose is, it's a good thing to try to go inside yourself, go within, and start asking, what is my purpose here? Why am I here? Who am I? And the more you start to go into yourself quietly, away from all the distractions, um, the more you can start hearing from the Spirit, and it'll tell you. Your spirit will tell you, and it'll start showing you. You'll get little signs here and there. I guarantee you. This is Coach Melvy signing off. I'm going to get me some water because my throat is getting scratchy sitting under this fan, but I had to get this out and get it ready for production. I love you all. Take care and keep rising. Bye.